craziest things ever grown in a lab. Hey everyone, it's Alexa and welcome back to another video. Nowadays, you hear all about things that are organically sourced: fruits, vegetables, clothes, and makeup. But what if we told you that things that come from the earth might also be mimicked in a scientific facility? Here are some of the wildest things ever grown in a lab. But before we get started, make sure that you're subscribed and ring the bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Hamburger meat. With the inventions of food products like the Impossible Burger and Beyond Meat, vegans and vegetarians no longer have to miss the taste of meat. These plant-based vegan meats have made it so that those with dietary restrictions can enjoy something close to the flavor and texture of beef again. But how would vegans and vegetarians feel about meat that is not from a living animal? Cultured meat is meat created via vitro cultivation of animal cells. No slaughtered animals are involved in the process. According to tests, subjects couldn't tell the difference between the lab meat and the meat taken from an animal. This product has not yet been commercialized, but it is set to be on the market by 2021. Leather. Along with fur, crocodile, and snakeskin, another product that goes against the beliefs of the animal rights movement is leather. Traditionally, leather is made from cowhide. Now, you may not have to worry about buying those leather boots you want conflicting with your morals. A company called Modern Meadow has figured out how to make leather that doesn't involve any dead cows. They call it Biofabrication, and it consists of growing collagen from yeast. The scientists working for Modern Meadow initially tried to grow leather from mammalian cells, but that process required serum extraction from unborn calves, which went against their animal-free approach. Plastic-eating bacteria. According to the National Geographic, of the 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic humans have produced, 6.3 billion metric tons have turned into plastic waste. Only 9% of the plastic has been recycled. One way scientists discovered could reduce the amount of plastic waste is by letting bacteria eat it. They created a new enzyme that can break down plastic in just a few days. Compare that to the 450 years it takes for this material to degrade. A few days is nothing. In Austria, they found out a rare variety of mushroom that can break down polyurethane plastic and turn that plastic waste into food. Pig bones. Researchers in the United States implanted lab-engineered bones into 14 adult Yucatan mini pigs that had facial damage. The scientists mapped out the structures of their bones and created scaffolds made out of cow bones. These structures were injected into the pigs' stem cells and then soaked in a nutrient-rich solution. The pigs were split into 3 categories: 6 pigs that received a customized graft seeded with their own cells, 6 pigs that received a scaffold with no cells inside, and 2 pigs that were to heal on their own. All 14 pigs had regrowth in their jaw, but only the 6 with the seeded grafts had complete growth. Blood stem cell. For the first time in history, scientists successfully produced blood in a lab. George Daly from the Harvard Medical School and his colleagues tested different combinations of proteins involved in blood production and applied those proteins to stem cells. They found out that 5 of these different proteins worked together to turn the stem cells into blood stem cells. When the fabricated blood was injected into mice, the cells proceeded to create new red and white blood cells and blood platelets. These findings can help treat blood diseases and make suitable blood for transfusions. Rat limbs. In 2015, a researcher from Massachusetts General Hospital confirmed he successfully grew the first bio-limb in the world in the form of a rat arm. The researcher, a thoracic surgeon named Harold Ott, said that his team focused on the forearm and hand as a model system, but that the process could be applied to other extremities, such as the other arms and legs. The scaffold for the arm includes collagen structures of tendons, muscles, blood vessels, and bone. This scaffold was then placed in a bioreactor and given electric stimulation and oxygen to allow the cells to regenerate. After 3 weeks, Ott coated the limb with skin grafts, and voila, you have a rat arm. This breakthrough means scientists are one step closer to growing functional human extremities. Human ear. We now know it's possible for scientists to engineer limbs, but what about other body parts, like, say, an ear? In a separate study involving a rodent, scientists were able to build a human ear. It started in the 90s when scientists were able to grow an ear from cow cartilage on the back of a mouse. That ear involved no human tissue. In 2016, scientists from the University of Tokyo and Kyoto universities successfully produced an adult-sized ear from human stem cells on the back of a mouse. Coral. Corals are found around the world and are in danger of dying due to coral bleaching, a condition that occurs when the ocean water is too warm, turning the coral white and expelling the algae that live inside the coral's tissue. This algae provides 90% of the coral's energy, leaving the coral weak. One way to save this coral is to reduce pollution and therefore reverse the effects of climate change, but that'll take a long time to do. In the meantime, scientists from the Australian Institute of Marine Science were able to construct coral that can cope with wildlife, ultimately helping build a coral more resistant to the changing conditions. Human bladder. A team of scientists at the Wake Forest University School of Medicine began their work on developing human bladders in 1999. They took the cells from malfunctioning bladders in children diagnosed with spina bifida and used the cells to regrow thin sacs of tissue. From these sacs, the scientists grafted artificial organs onto the bladders of the patients. In 2018, Anthony Atala, one of the researchers involved in the Wake Forest study, replaced the bladder of a 10-year-old child by bioprinting the bladder, or 3D printing it. Mayonnaise. Food companies have already manufactured vegan mayonnaise, which consists of no eggs, unlike regular mayonnaise. San Francisco-based company Just created Just Mayo, contrived from plant-based alternatives. The mayo consists of proteins from a species of Canadian yellow pea. Just is part of the startup lab called Hampton Creek, owned by CEO Josh Tetrick. Hampton Creek has also invested in producing lab-grown meat. Tetrick says that chicken eggs have 22 different functions, and the task at hand is to find egg-mimicking proteins to make egg-free, egg-inspired foods. Fallopian tubes. Even in the modern age, doctors have limited ways to examine fallopian tubes. This lack of inspection can lead to diseases going undiagnosed for a long time. In 2016, researchers from Max Planck Institute for Infection Biology were able to grow the innermost cellular layer of fallopian tubes, cultivated from the mucosa of these human organs. In turn, they discovered such mucosa possessed their own stem cells, which allows the fallopian tubes to have continual renewal. In women, the innermost part of the tube is where diseases and infections originate. From these organic models, doctors hope to be more knowledgeable about the mechanisms of production. Clothing. Aside from food and human body parts, what else can you grow? Clothes. UK-based company Biocouture aimed to produce clothing using ingredients you can find in your own home, like sugar. The fashion industry is one of the leading causes of pollution on Earth. Cotton takes 2,700 liters of water to grow to make just one shirt. Every year, textile factories manufacture 20 pieces of clothing per person. These factories dump untreated toxic wastewater directly into rivers. Only 15% of our clothing is recycled or donated. All those statistics are just the tip of the iceberg. Combating this form of pollution is a way to make clothes with no toxic components and for those clothes to be readily biodegradable. Skin. Experts at the Riken Center for Developmental Biology in Japan took hair follicles and sebaceous glands and were able to make human skin out of those two components. They took the derma and transplanted it into mice, which proved successful. Last year, researchers at the Indiana University School of Medicine cultured the first lab-grown skin tissue that came complete with hair follicles. The experiment used stem cells from mice. Skin like this could mean the reduction of animal testing and a better understanding of hair growth. Mini heart. Scientists at Abertay University fabricated small, beating hearts from stem cells. The leading researcher, Professor Nikolai Zhelev, and his team used the mini hearts to study certain heart diseases. They induced disorders on the vascular organs to be able to test different drugs and hopefully treat patients in a more informed manner. At the University of Berkley, researchers there developed stem cells into heart muscles and experimented on those to screen for drugs that could lead to congenital cardiac disabilities. Apple ears. When you look at an apple, did you ever think to yourself you could form a human body part out of it? No, of course not, and yet this is something that has actually happened in real life. Professor Andrew Pelling spent years trying to find a method to grow human cells from plants. Finally, he discovered a way that employed apples as a base to make human ears. Pelling considers this new method vital for cutting costs on organ reproduction. For his TED Talk, Pelling explained that his team started with an apple, removed all the apple cells, and implanted human cells. Their clinical work proves it is possible to transfer these implants into the human body. Pig eye embryo. In 2017, scientists revealed that they developed the first successful human-animal hybrid. It involved human cells being introduced into a non-human organism and proved that the human cells could survive inside the host animal. In this case, that host animal was a pig. Why? They wanted to see if they could grow a custom organ for someone in need of a donated organ inside an animal, instead of waiting for a donor. Previously, scientists were able to house organs in a rat, but A human organ, let alone a whole embryo, seemed tricky. Until now, despite the scientific breakthrough it was, many questioned the ethical aspect of harvesting human organs from animals. Coffee. Why would anyone need to grow coffee in a laboratory when you can grow coffee in the ground? The Food and Wine Company created Atomo coffee, a coffee that is molecularly similar to real coffee, to make coffee that has no chance of being bitter. For those who aren't gifted in the art of coffee making and hate more bitter versions like black coffee, this might be the perfect cup for you. Diamonds. If you've seen movies like Blood Diamond, then you know that people value diamonds at a significant cost. There's probably more human-made diamonds in jewelry than diamonds cultivated from mines than you think. The difference is minimal. The only thing that separates a lab diamond from a mined diamond is the origin. Benefits of making diamonds lead to a more eco-friendly and ethically sourced stone. Mining for diamonds is dangerous and results in 1 in every 1,000 injuries for workers every year. Before we get to number 1, we've got a question for you. Would you be willing to eat meat that was grown in a lab? Why or why not? Let us know your opinions in the comments below. E. coli fuel. Hold up. You mean that bacteria that has contaminated lettuce and celery in the past couple of years and made loads of people sick can serve as a fuel? Yes, many professionals hope that E. coli can lead to an alternative for fossil fuels, an energy source that has contributed to global pollution. Scientists from the UK and Finland have made an E. coli-based fuel that is ready to be used in an engine. This new form of biofuel is much more cost-effective as opposed to using algae as fuel and is more economically sustainable.